The top story on ABC News Breakfast, Labor is gearing up for a leadership showdown between the Prime Minister Julia Gillard and the Foreign Minister Kevin Rudd. Some in the party believe it could be as early as next week.
Simmering tensions boiled over yesterday after the release of an old video of Kevin Rudd swearing when he was Prime Minister. Factional power brokers have told the ABC the issue must now be brought to a head, but it's still not clear if the Prime Minister will call a leadership spill or if Kevin Rudd will launch a challenge. For more, political correspondent Melissa Clark joins us now from Canberra. Melissa, good morning. A very busy weekend, and there's now some sense of inevitability about a leadership showdown.
It really has now become a case of when, not if, this is going to happen, although there's still a pretty big question about how it might all unfold. Really, it was brought to a head at the weekend with this release of this video, these outtakes of Kevin Rudd swearing whilst trying to record a message in Mandarin. Now, what this has done is really accelerate events. It was an opportunity that many had been waiting for, a trigger for things to happen. Now, there have been some fingers pointed at Julia Gillard and her office for releasing this in an effort to paint Kevin Rudd in a bad light. If that's the case, it's backfired because it's given him the opportunity to basically present a job application. First of all, Julia Gillard made it very clear on commercial TV on the weekend that she's not behind the release of this video. Let's hear her speaking.
There have been some assertions today that somehow this is connected with my office. That is completely untrue. My office did not have access to the material people have seen on YouTube. I don't know who put that material on YouTube, but whoever did it has acted inappropriately. Look, I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals, but I'm getting on with the job with the strong support of my colleagues to do so.
So, Julia Gillard there. Now, regardless of whether or not you think this paints Kevin Rudd in a bad light or whether it might remind colleagues of what he used to be like, he has taken this opportunity to use it as something of a job application, as an excuse to talk about what he learnt from his time as being Prime Minister. Let's hear him speaking to Sky News over the weekend and really giving a bit of a job application back to some of his own backbenchers.
You know how history sometimes gets a little bit rewritten, but I don't walk away from some of my own, failings in the past. But the bottom line is, I think you do learn. And what I've tried to learn from all of that is do less in a given working day rather than trying to do everything. I think that's an important principle for everybody. I think it's also important to delegate more and be sort of happy and contented about that. And on top of that, most importantly, consult more broadly as well.
Kevin Rudd there. Well, Melissa, the big unknown this morning is what will trigger this inevitable showdown. Will it be Kevin Rudd launching a challenge, or will it be Julia Gillard taking matters into her own hands?
Which is interesting because Kevin Rudd has certainly been playing a long-form game, and the expectation is he wants the party to come to him and recognise that it made an error in switching to Julia Gillard. So we know Kevin Rudd would like colleagues to come to him, or for the circumstances to conspire that way, not to look like he's grasping for it. On the other hand, many of Julia Gillard's supporters are divided on how she should approach this issue. Some say she needs to call it to a head, she needs to have this issue cleared up sooner rather than later, and she should do it now before Kevin Rudd has any more time to garner more votes in the caucus. But others are saying she shouldn't be giving into this, that she clearly has the numbers on her side, and therefore she shouldn't be giving any more credence or credibility to Kevin Rudd's efforts to get back into the top job. So if it were to come to a head, the earliest it could happen is next week. That's when Parliament returns and all caucus MPs are back in the same place, that is Canberra, and perhaps most importantly, Kevin Rudd is back in the country because he's overseas for a series of meetings and won't be back until Sunday. So you can expect there will be plenty of phone calls over the next week as both sides try to get 52 caucus members on side, because that's how many they need were a leadership ballot to happen.
And finally, and quickly, Mel, despite all of this happening, there is still other business going on in Canberra, including some serious policy development regarding school funding.
Very serious issues. What we will have today is the release of the Gonski report, which has been going on for some time now, and will put forward something of a suggested blueprint for the government when it comes to funding of school education, both public and private. Now, this has been long awaited by the industry. There are certainly some concerns from the independent sector that they may see a decrease in real terms in funding as a result of these findings. We're expecting the Gonski review, when released at around lunchtime, will recommend in the the order of a $5 billion injection in school education. We will get an initial response from the government, but we expect they'll be wanting to consult with the industry before agreeing to anything too definite from the Gonski review. So that critical piece of review will be out around lunchtime today.
OK, Melissa Clark in Canberra, thank you very much.